Thanks for joining us. We sitting down today with our next group, Sergeant Watica, Sergeant Collins, and Sergeant Cummings. So I'm not going to introduce you guys. I'll let you do that yourself. So if you want to go around the room and just tell us a little bit about yourself and the current role that you're in.
Yep. So I'm an F-35. Sorry, I'm Sergeant Watica. I'm an F-35 crew chief. I've been in the innovation space for a bit now. Pretty familiar with it. I've run a couple projects. Mainly, one of the last successful one that I was involved with the Tesseract with was the F-35 Readiness cover. We'd kicking off a switch and we made a cover for it that was successful, and we're currently in the midst of scaling it throughout the enterprise. But taking all of those lessons, I've come back full circle and kind of planted myself into a mentorship role at Lake and Heath to take other people's ideas and kind of prop them up to help them push in the right direction for how they make their ideas a reality.
He talked about around that well. I as Tesseract, we try to do the same thing, right? Help prop up airmen's ideas. But I always say it like we take their ideas and do that, and I'm like, wait, we don't take their idea, right? we help prop up their idea. But Sergeant Collins.
Yep. So I'm Sergeant Collins, LO by trade. Currently, I'm over at DES 16 at Lake and Heath as a LO FTD instructor. I'm the project lead on this realistic composite trainer that we're making.
Awesome. Sergeant Cummings.
I'm Sergeant Cummings. I work with Sergeant Collins at the 372nd Training Squadron detachment there at Lake and Heath. I'm the section chief over there. And as a part of this, I'm going to essentially be a liaison between the ACT implementation of the trainer in the midst of as we get it made and get off the ground.
Perfect. I'll start with you and come back. Could you just tell us a little bit about your Air Force career up to now and kind of how you got in the position you're in?
Yeah, so I came to the Air Force in 13, and I'm a 35 crew chief by trade, and I've never worked anything else. So for a little over 10 years now, I've been on program. I did about 6.5 years at Luke Air Force Base, and I came over as a cadre member to the 495th over Lake and Heath. And after standing that up, I applied for the position as an instructor and worked my way up. And now I'm the section chief. And I just want to be a part of this because the reason why I became an instructor was I just saw kind of an opportunity to help the next generation of maintainers. And being a part of the first generation, I thought I'd be able to use my skills.
Awesome. Sergeant Collins.
Well, been about 10 years. I started my career at Luke Air Force Base. Been LO the whole time. F-35 was my only aircraft. The reason it got me here was to become an instructor. I realized like what panels we've been doing and using forever. They're just too basic at this point. So we want to upgrade the training, make it more advanced. Jazz.
Awesome. We'll definitely come back to the project here in a minute.
So I'm Sergeant Watica, and I came into the Air Force as an engine troop back in 2010. Spent very little amount of my Air Force time as that, about 2 years before I cross-trained over to be an F-35 crew chief in 2012. And been on airframe since. I worked at Nellis stayed there till 2016, became an instructor for 4 years, and then went out to the flight line at Hill Air Force Base. Worked Hill Air Force Base for a little bit, and then went over to Lake and Heath. But I've been on 35s for 12 years now. So got a good amount of experience especially compared to a lot of what we have right now. And currently over in the F-35 support section as a section chief, which gives me a lot of scope to be able to tackle things like this and help out and actually take the support role literally and help out the maintainer.
Awesome. Yeah. I did a little bit of time in the C-17 world as support, and it really, I did it as a young airman, and it definitely opened my eyes to how big the Air Force was, right? And how many programs there are to run and things like that, and how many QA fails it's possible to get. But yeah, you learn, you live and you learn. So Perfect. Well, we're all here this week and in Washington, DC, and at the Tesseract office for our Build Your Own Adventure course, right? For Aether Sprint 2025. And you all are semifinalists this year. So congratulations for that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your project and kind of how you got here?
Yeah, so like I just said, the previously or currently what we use is just this flat panel, and it doesn't do a great job of representing an F-35. Stealth aircraft are all curved, complex angles, and all that. So when we go into these training environments, we can try to do our best as an instructor to challenge the students, but there's only so much we can do, limited on the equipment. So with this new panel, it's going to directly represent the curvatures of the aircraft, of what they have to deal with when they're actually on the line.
Copy that. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with the F-35 and how important LO is and making sure that you're drilling a straight hole?
Yeah. So I've been on this aircraft for 10 years. It's my only aircraft, so it's pretty much all I know. But the importance of stealth, it's the sole survivability. If the pilot can't be seen by radar, he's in the clear. Yeah, if you can't drill straight on a panel, you're gonna go through the side. And if you hit the panel with your drill bit, it's we're averaging about 9 down days to get it fixed through the action request process, and then actually getting it fixed.
Copy that. And so what does this training process look like? How do airmen go from, hey, I just joined the Air Force and I have never touched a tool to I can drill a straight hole and not have 9 down days for a stealth jet?
So when airmen first come in, obviously they go through tech school, come out of tech school to go to their first base, and then that's where we come in as FTDs. So they get their more advanced training before they start doing OJT on the line. For stuck screws specifically, there is no direct training for it. It's all OJT. So it could be the first time if they ever pick up a drill that they're going to go touch the aircraft with. So this is where this panel could come in, so they get familiar with how to hold it at an off angle, as opposed to just doing it flat and straight on their lap.
Copy that. Yeah, and from a crew chief perspective, we'll if we're calling for a stuck screw, it's our last resort, right? We've tried everything at that point. And we probably have a handful of broken bits in our hand. But that's there are some large and lengthy jobs on aircraft, right? And aircraft maintenance. And the first step is always to pull a panel. And if you aren't able to, or if you're adding extra days onto a long job on the first step, that's it's an extra bad day, right? So I can definitely see the importance in making sure that you have trained and qualified personnel and the ability to practice. Do you see, well, I guess we'll go back to the project a little bit. Can you explain a little bit how, what the project kind of like looks like? Right now, we don't really have any, visualizations, but is it, like a little handheld size piece? Are we looking at big panels, or kind of how does this look?
I believe we're making it 30 by 30. So it's the same size as our current training panels. That way it can fit. It's a little more mobile, fits on a desk. But yeah, like you said, it goes to like, we like to say practice how you play. So you're not going to make practice easier than what the game would be. So this is going to directly be more realistic to what they're going to see on the line. So what we did is we took a panel, took the not the direct dimensions and everything like that, but we kind of scaled it, and then we scaled it down to a size that's more manageable.
Copy that. Okay.
Yeah, I think we went out to the aircraft and we identified the most complex panel that we could see. What has the most concave and the most complex geometry of anything, and what best represents a worst case scenario for an LO maintainer to go out there and drill an aircraft with, or even restore panels. You can kind of touch on the scope got a little bit bigger once we started asking, like drilling down the RCA of the training aspect of what other training are we getting for these LO guys.
So it's going to be able to do everything that the previous panel did and more.
Okay. And I don't know how much I'm obviously a heavies guy, right? C-17. So spending most of my career at Hickam, I've had a lot of relation to F-22s in operations, right, around the island, and in exercises, but I'm definitely not an LO troop. I don't know how much you can, tell us in this environment, but what does it take to maintain an LO jet?
It's very, very tedious. Everything has to be perfect. So you're working with thousandths of an inch. So we typically, like, a job will come in, right? Because the crew chiefs or avionics need to get into a panel. Well, all these panels are covered by the LO material. So we need to take that material off and then we restore it. So we stack it all back on. So that's primarily what my class is teaching these new airmen how to do this said process.
Copy that. Yeah. And as you, harped on earlier, how important it is, right?
Yeah.
And I can imagine that can be quite stressful without the proper tools as a young airman to try and learn that, right? Knowing what's at stake if that aircraft is going to go operational, knowing that if you make a mistake, it could be, the pilot's life. So, okay. Any questions so far?
No.
None at the moment. Okay. So we'll start with Sergeant Cummings and then we can work our way back. But what has been your experience kind of with solving problems in the Air Force thus far? I believe you said you had 13 years in, or you started in 13, right? So you're
Yeah, I joined the program in 2014.
okay.
So, yeah.
Have you seen what's your experience with innovation, solving problems, and how have you seen it change throughout your career?
So as far as like the current innovation platform that we have now, not a whole lot. This is my first experience and it's been very eye-opening and very beneficial. However, years ago, I had a stint in the wheel and tire shop at Luke Air Force Base. And while we were there, we did an actual rewrite of what you guys called TOs, we called JTD modules. And it was a whole process, very similar like what we're going through to get this developed. It involved a lot of outside sources, engineers, all to put a wheel on a tire that we've been doing for years. But there's a process. And so that in itself was very eye-opening. And then just seeing changes, just change after change after change, and having to implement them on the program. So it's been one giant, I think, innovative process that has it's going to help me when it comes to attacking some of these little hurdles. Plus hopefully any type of relationships I've made, networking, I might be able to use those. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
The networking is always kind of like I talked about in our last interview. It's always nice when we fly the semifinalists out and we work with you face to face to, just to meet you that way, right? And to work closely with you because everyone has a lot to learn from the people in the room, right? And it's always nice to bring a ton of different perspectives into a conversation and see what comes out of it. Yeah, Sergeant Collins, do you want to, if you could talk a little bit about your experience with innovation, solving problems, and then if you want to touch a little bit about, the BYOA stuff.
Yeah, this is my first innovation to this scale. Been a part of a lot of JTD changes, verifications, stuff like that. To me, what's cool is, and why it's needed, because if we were having this conversation 10 years ago, none of this would have been possible. They would have been, what's working is fine for now. Now that we're 10 years later, we've proved that it's worked, but I think we believe it's time for an upgrade. We can get better, and that's why this BOA experience has been very cool for me. It's been eye-opening to what needs to get done, the questions that have to be asked, get you better prepared to answer these said questions.
Awesome. And Sergeant Wadika, you talked a little bit earlier about how you have some experience here. You've done BYOA before,
Yep.
right? But you mind talking a little bit about your experience in innovation and BYOA?
Yeah, so in my experience, I've always been an advocate for making things better throughout my career. And that at the beginning, that I was on the very start of the F-35 program, and being an early adopter, we were solicited for a lot of feedback, and a lot of that got taken to heart, and a lot of changes rapidly happened. And growing up and maturing with the program, I've seen that that's things have been more cemented and more inflexible as time has gone on and things have been more solidified. It's become harder for things to get changed through the F-35 program as a whole, holistically, because now things are kind of in a pattern where they work. And so people are a lot less willing to work with the change. But that doesn't mean that the problems are solved. We're still dealing with a lot of things that we just make work. And the more I've sat in it, the more I've realized that like nobody's out there fixing these issues for us. When we are dealing with a problem and we're making it work in the meantime, as long as we're making it work, that's all anyone cares about. But when you identify a real problem and you think there's a solution, that's where I've liked to start pushing that button in recent years, and that's kind of where some of my other projects have gone is the question of why. Just sitting down and asking, well, why are we doing it that way? What can we do? What's in our arsenal? What's in our power to make this change? What's stopping me? Is it me? Am I shutting this down right now? I'm going to make somebody else shut this down. I'm not going to stop until somebody else forces me to stop and say no. I'm going to keep asking the question. I'm going to go find the solution. I'm going to talk to the right person. And the more I do that, the more I realize that there's a ton of people out there that want that. They want you to succeed. They want to help. They want to jump in and say, yeah, let's make it better. Yeah, that does suck. That I know who you can talk to over here. I know there's this great resource over here. Hey, I have a big fund of money and I'm willing to spend it on this thing.
Yeah.
The more you realize and start highlighting, like these are where the pain points are on the field, the greater in bringing that information over into these realms of your squadron commanders, of your MAGCOM officials, they start realizing like, oh, actually, yeah, that is a big idea. Hey, look, this random crew chief quantified a bunch of data on NMC downtime on an aircraft and justified and correlated an action that's happening out there and figured out the exact why and brought it over and put it on a spreadsheet for me to see like, yeah, this is a problem. Okay. Yeah. Maybe we can get behind it. I've found that to be super effective, of just being able to ask the why and focus your time on things that really matter. When you can correlate things to being downtime, when you can do RCAs on items that are actually eating our lunch out there, and really focus it on the why, and then most importantly, empower those around you to take action and take change and not just accept what's going on. It'd be super easy for Sergeant Collins to just say, yeah, those panels do suck. And I can't wait till I don't have to teach on these in a couple months and then leave it at that.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of joy in asking him, well, what are we going to do about it? And then continuing to push that boulder uphill.
I think that was well said at the 35s in that we're in the accepting stage. Not very many people even realize that it's a problem or there is a solution.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And there's a couple really great points that you made. One, sometimes that takes a team, right? And that's all it takes is a couple like-minded individuals that want to get after something, working together, and doing it, right? And just supporting each other through the process, right? It's hard to do it alone. And you don't have to do it alone, because there are people in your unit, or in adjacent units or on your base that want to get after these things, and you just got to seek them out and find them. Have those, go to different events, do a little bit of networking, have a conversation with somebody, and eventually you're, in Washington, D.C., fighting through a snowstorm, trying to get to build your own adventure here with Tesseract. And then, another thing is always asking why. Right. It's extremely important. We one of the funniest stories I think about is in maintenance we always say TOs or JTDs, as we call them. We say they're written in blood, right? Because it's experience, right? That's gone into those over the years to write them. I would say maybe 75% of it is written in blood, and the other 25% is written in. We think this might be the best way. The 463L palette is like the most prevalent logistics tool that we have in the Air Force. It's named 463L because it was designed and finalized in April of 1963, and it's L for logistics, right? Like, that's not really a great reason for a name, but when you think about a lot of the stuff we do in the Air Force, right, it was just like, well, that makes sense at the time, so let's do it, right? Now that I don't think we're going to change the name of the 463L, but that example in different contexts, maybe it's time for a little bit of change, right? So, because the reasoning doesn't end up today. So, yeah, asking why is always important. I'll we've got about 8 minutes left here in our 30-minute window, but I just want to ask, what have you thought about the week so far? Are you having a good experience at BYOA? Do you have any, just stuff to talk about?
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know what to expect coming into this. So that honestly, I think that helped more not knowing, if that makes sense, because I came here thinking we're just kind of like, hey, you guys are gonna refine the product, but project, but we're doing it, which is helping us get the knowledge of what we're trying to sell.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I'm in the same boat with Sergeant Collins. I didn't really know what to expect. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, I'm still pretty fresh to even the team, and so to even be here has been a privilege, and it's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But as far as the BYOA has gone so far, it's got a good flow, I think. The little team building exercises tied directly in with the you guys are implementing our actual project, and it ties them great. And some of them may seem a little tedious or even elementary, but the answer is the very next project we do. It's like, oh, that's why we did it. So everything's tied together. So I'm learning some pretty cool stuff that I'm going to be able to apply, I think, even in other realms.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. That's why we do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we want you to do it as well, right? Because the whole goal here is, so we have 8 semifinalists this year, right? Everybody's TDY out here for a week. That costs money, right? But it's an investment in you, right? Because we're working, teaching you some processes to work through problems in the future. And so you can not only solve problems that you're facing, but then help relay information to other airmen and or peers that you're working with, and have them solve problems in the right way too. Or in a right way, right? There's plenty of right ways to do things, and this is just one. You're also lucky to have Sergeant Wannick on the team, I think. Yep. With his experience. But do you have anything to say about BYOA and your experiences now?
Second round through it, I think it's super beneficial. And I think it's one of the few actual like innovation curriculums that exists. Innovation is a hard thing to build a curriculum around. Notoriously difficult because everything's fluid with it. Everything's constantly changing. And but I think this does a really good job and Sergeant Cummings, you actually said this yesterday in the car. Like nothing was super groundbreaking. Like nothing was like, oh man, I didn't know anything about that. Like when we came here, but what this is really doing a good job at is taking you and focusing you in to ask questions that you should be asking about your project, to make you do a little bit of red cell on your project, a little bit of, well, why is it this way? Why are you doing it this way? Challenging certain aspects of your project. Are you on the right track? Do you need to rethink certain things? Because what that does is it establishes a level of credibility for you when you're bringing it and presenting it to your stakeholders. When you can immediately respond to all the criticisms, all the what ifs, all the holes that they may try to poke into the project. You get a level of credibility of, okay, yeah, maybe this is the right guy to invest in. Maybe this project is the right answer to this solution, may be the right answer to this problem, because they've been thinking about all these angles and they seem to have all the answers. And that's kind of what this course is really, I think, does a really good job of getting you prepared for, is to be able to talk about your project very have an intelligent conversation with someone about it, and to really fine tune and come in and get all of your answers very laid out.
Yeah, awesome. No, I'm glad to hear you all say that. That's always the goal, right? And that's kind of the experiences we've had so far. We're always trying to improve Build Your Own Adventure, right? So, we have the rosebud thorn on the door, but any feedback you have throughout the week, we'd love to hear it, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, right? Any suggestions, and that goes for the audience as well. If you're curious about building your own adventure, feel free to reach out on the website. We will get you as much information as we can, and let you know where we're headed next, right? We don't only do these here for Aether Sprint, but we try to get out on the road and do some in different AORs as well. Well, great. Is there anything that you guys wanted to talk about? I want to give you a little bit of the floor here for the last couple of minutes. If not, I can ask another question, but
I think I'm good.
okay. Awesome. I do have one question about the F-35. You guys have all been working on it for pretty long, right? I know no aircraft program is perfect, right? The F-35's had its hardship, but it's an incredible piece of technology, right? And I just wanted to, I guess, give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about maybe your experience with the aircraft or the program, and what you've enjoyed about it. Like, I'll put Sergeant Cummings on the spot.
Yeah, I didn't come into the program originally. I was originally an EOD candidate, and I was, I had the option. They asked me like, well, what did you want to do? You're probably gonna get maintenance. I said, I want the F-35, and they're, well, why is that? And I said, well, because it's not going anywhere. And so I wanted something that was going to have longevity. And I think coming over here, I'm sorry, I keep saying here. I mean Lakenheath, as if I'm in England. But one of the missions that they really were trying to get, they call it the 50 to 500 initiative, where Lakenheath's going to have the first 50 with a total of 500 in the area. And being able to see that from the ground has been really cool. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. There's a unique mission set that's happening at Lakenheath that hasn't happened in a long time, and to be a part of that and to see that has been, again, really cool, because you're going to look back in the history books and be like, oh shoot, I was there for that. And then even some of these things that he's doing, this could potentially be a tool that's used. I always thought that being part of the JTD rewrite was really cool. Like, oh, the wheel and tire shop, they're still using the module I helped write. That's my word right there.
Yeah.
But that part of it has been a unique, because it only comes around every 50 years or so where a new airframe comes on. And so that's been a really cool opportunity.
Awesome. Sergeant Collins.
No, yeah, I love that it's I don't have anything to really compare it to because it's the only aircraft, but I mean, stories I've heard, and I love that it's the latest and greatest. It's relatively not hard to work on. Processes are always, innovating, getting better, but yeah, I like that it's the latest and greatest, and hopefully have a future after, because we're gonna keep making more.
Okay.
I think I've gotten, it's really, the F-35 is very confidence inspiring in our capabilities. We get a firsthand experience of being able to talk to our operators and seeing like the mission impact that the airframe has on what we as a nation can go do. It's extremely capable. In the very infancy of the program, of course, there were all these negative news articles because it's a huge taxpayer item. Like we're spending billions of dollars on this program, but with good reason. And a lot of the initial negative news articles were not really based in true performance of the airframe, just because of largely how the program was run, being forced out before it was ready. They did that on purpose. They forced the F-35 out before it was operationally capable, because that was the fastest way for it to develop itself.
Absolutely.
But now that it's a developed aircraft that is operationally capable, it's great to be able to see what our operators are able to do physically, what we can do to our adversaries. And it's very confidence inspiring, especially taking a look at the political horizon on what our leaders say is coming in our future. I am 100% confident in our ability to to come out where in a good position, a good strategic position, mainly because of where we are and what we can do.
Game changer for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I wanted to, wrap it up by saying, don't sell yourself short. As a maintainer myself, I know how, like the back of your hand that jet becomes, right? And then the thing, you just know how to do things. And we don't often like stop and think about how complex the piece of equipment we're working on is and the tasks we're doing. I mean, we spent the entire 30 minutes talking about how difficult it is to drill straight holes in a piece in a panel, right? And so don't sell yourself short with the pretty incredible things that you do every day, right? The Air Force is an awesome place to be, especially in the F-35 world. It's an incredible piece of technology, and yeah, I'm a little bit jealous that you guys get to work on it every day. But awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We look forward to working with you guys the rest of the week in the Build Your Own Adventure, and then further through Aether Sprint. And it doesn't stop there, right? There's always problems to solve. So look forward to like you talked about, networking, staying in touch with you all, and solving problems down the road.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks everyone.